Recording is on.
All right, welcome. Good morning, everyone, to LisaBug Yoga. My name is Lisa Hildebrand, and we are a community here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we are practicing together during this pandemic online. So you can see me live or on YouTube. And we are going to focus a little bit on lower back today, but we'll be doing a lot of standing strength for our legs in our warrior poses, and I'll give options for all levels. Be sure that you are practicing within the level that feels comfortable for your body today. We're starting seated, and I have a yoga block and a strap. I also have a blanket, so if you have something that you'd like to sit on, a little cushion to make you more comfortable, that would be awesome this morning. So let's just come down to a comfortable seat. It doesn't have to be cross-legged. You can sit with your legs outstretched to the front or open them to the side. If you're at home and you have a chair, you can sit in a chair as well. So we'll just lengthen the spine from the tailbone through the crown of the head. You can close your eyes if you'd like and just visualize your spine long, extended, your pelvis grounded into the floor, into your mat. And feel that gentle pull of gravity drawing your body down into the earth, but at the same time, lift upwards by lengthening, using all of the muscles along the spine, from the base through the lower back, mid back, upper back, and through the neck, so that the upper body feels light. And find the breath, inhaling and exhaling through the nose. So we try as best as we can to clear our minds to prepare for our practice as we center and ground this morning. Perhaps you've already had a busy morning, so just set everything aside. There's nowhere to go, no place to be, no interruptions, just here and now. Blink your eyes open with a soft gaze and bring the right fingertips down to the mat next to you. Left arm sweeps out, up, and over. We'll just use this left arm, starting to warm up through the shoulder into lateral flexion of the spine. So when we begin to warm up, it's all about analyzing, seeing where we are today, doing a little bit of diagnostics, see how our body is moving, what the range of motion feels like, if there's any sore areas in our body. And let's take one more. Over and hold. So when we side stretch, it's not about shortening one side of the waist, it's about lengthening the other. So I want you to still stay really lengthened on the right side of the body as you're opening up the left. So stay in this side stretch and rotate the chest down towards the floor and rotate it back open. And I just have my right fingertips tented onto the mat, so I don't have a lot of weight into my right arm. And start to notice how your spine feels as you're twisting while it's flexed to the side. Be very gentle with that range of motion. And the next time you rotate, just hold that briefly and reach out. Scoop your lower belly in. Take 3 breaths here. In and out through the nose. 2 more breaths. Last one, inhale. Exhale completely, and then reach that left hand down to the floor and begin to walk your hands around to the center. And just take a moderate stretch here for your lower back. Some of you might be able to lower your elbows down to the floor. Some might need to prop the hands up on a block in front of you. Just take that nice gentle stretch. And then walking the hands back up. Take the left fingers out next to you on the side of the mat. We'll stretch open. And then lower that arm down. So if you have any shoulder issues and this isn't feeling good to raise the arm above the head, then you don't need to. It's more about what the waist is doing. So you could take a lateral flexion here and keep that arm out of the picture. You decide. Maybe each time you move, you find a little bit more range of motion. And I like to place the inhalation while we're stretching because you've got the muscles lengthened. And then if you inhale, that expands the lungs and stretches that intercostal space right between the ribs. Let's hold this one and breathe. Just check in to make sure you're not collapsing in this side of the waist, but you still have the left side nice and long. Then we'll begin to rotate, bringing the chest down towards the floor, stretching the arm out. Then inhale to open it back out. So we're staying in this side bend as we're adding rotation. And for you, this may really help to get into those tight muscles in the lower back and mid-back. And let the breath follow. Inhale as you're opening. Exhale into that rotation. Just a little bit of pressure into your left fingertips. Let's make this our last one. And then hold that twist briefly. A couple of breaths here. The breaths are expansive, they're slow, they're controlled. And then let your right hand come down to the mat, walk your fingertips into the middle. Take a little brief stretch here for the lumbar spine. So I'm not accentuating a rounding of my back. I'm just hinging forward into this space to stretch at the lumbar, the lower back. And then we'll walk those hands back in. Bring your fingertips behind you. They can either come to the floor, or you could place them on your hips or interlace your hands behind your back. Another option is your yoga strap. You can grab that and bring your hands behind your back as well. So we are going to come into chest expansion while we stretch our neck different directions. So I have the arms extended back behind any amount, so I'm opening up the fronts of the shoulders. And we'll begin by rotating the head from side to side. And if you're becoming uncomfortable sitting cross-legged, feel free to change the position you're sitting, or you can change the cross of your ankles so that you're balancing yourself out to the other side. So the goal is to keep the arms lifted and extended behind you in a comfortable range while we're moving the head through rotation side to side. Now make a little half circle with the head. So as you look to the right, drop the chin down, roll it to the left. You'll pause there, drop the chin down, and roll it to the right. If your arms get tired, you can release that chest expansion and just focus on your neck. One more time to each direction. And then come back to the midline. We'll tip the right ear towards the right shoulder. And then with your strap, if you'd like, you can pull your arms to the right slightly. Then tip your ear to the left shoulder and bring your arms over the other direction. Lengthening through the neck, relaxing through the shoulder blades. And again, you can relax the arms and just let the head tip from side to side. We'll do one more each direction. And then come neutral, releasing your chest expansion. We'll take a little counter stretch. Cross the right wrist on top of the left. Turn your palms to face each other. Pull your shoulder blades apart. So I'm reaching out towards the front, and drop your chin down towards your chest and separate your shoulder blades. Bring your head back up. Switch the cross of your wrists. And drop the chin. Separate the shoulder blades. Put the chin back up, unwrap the arms, take a nice big deep breath in, and exhale down. We'll come to hands and knees. If you need some padding for your knees and you have a little blanket, you can place that underneath the knees for a little cushioning. Come to all fours. So with all fours, sometimes the wrists take a lot of pressure. So we can pull back the energy away from our hands and come up on the fingertips. We can make fists for wrists, whatever feels comfortable for you today from hands and knees position. And then send the right leg straight back behind you. Flex the ankle and point. Flex and point. Your pelvis is level. You want to make this a little bit more challenging. Your opposite arm will reach out, and you can also flex the wrist. Flex and point. Head should be neutral spinal alignment. Belly pulled in to protect the lower back from extending too much here. Now flex that right ankle and hold it flexed. You can bring your left hand back down to the mat and push the ball of your foot down onto the floor and press some energy back into your heel. You're stretching that calf. You can stay here or lift your hips up like you're coming into a down dog. And you'll notice I have the top of my left foot on the floor, and I'm going to press into the top of my left foot to create a little toe point while I'm pressing down with my right heel. We'll hold here 3 breaths. You can even stretch the toes of that left foot by kind of picking your heel up and just stretching across the bones of your toes. 2 more breaths. 1 more breath. And then drop that knee back down. Come back to all fours. And for a moment, turn your palms up towards the ceiling so you're reversing the flexion of your wrists. You can stay here if it's not too much pressure, or bring your hands more underneath you and just lift your body weight off of the wrists a little bit. So a little reverse stretch. And then walk the hands back out. We'll send the left foot straight back behind you. And we'll flex and point. Flex and point. Your option is to lift your right hand away to find spinal balance And you can also flex the wrist. So you're moving them at the same time. Do a nice range of motion in the wrist and ankle joints. Now pull the belly in, little firing of your abdominals. Now keep that left ankle flexed. Bring your right hand back down to the mat. Lower that left foot down and push into your heel. You can stay as you are or start to lift up and push into the top of your right foot at the same time. Now I know that some of us have some difficulty bending our toes. Arthritis begins to set in and other issues. So just stay at a comfortable place for you. No reason to push it to pain. And we'll hold 2 more breaths. One more breath. And then lower the knees back down to the mat. Take that reverse stretch for your wrists. So this might be a lot with your arms way out, so you can back them in and lift your body weight up off of the wrists. And then placing your hands onto the mat, we'll tuck the toes underneath and lift yourself up, coming into a forward bend, just stretching forward. Now if you're tight in your hamstrings, bend your knees quite a bit and come to a half forward bend so you can lift up slightly. So you still feel this nice stretch in the backs of the legs, but it's not as deep. And then reverse swan dive as you inhale, come all the way up. Reach through the fingertips, press the palms together, and sit into chair pose. Now in chair, if you sink down deep enough, you'll feel a little stretch in the lower portion of your ankles. So keep your weight back in your heels and feel the work into the legs. 2 more breaths. Knees tracking over the feet. 1 more breath. Then we'll rise all the way up and step out nice and wide onto your mat with the toes turned out. So a nice comfortable distance apart. We'll stretch up into 5-pointed star, open the fingers, and then as you exhale, bend your knees, pull your elbows back. We'll come into moonflowers. So the arms reach, the elbows pull back, we open the chest. And just check in with the knees, make sure this is feeling okay. You don't have to come down super deep. Inhale and exhale. 2 more. 1 more, we'll hold our moonflowers. So staying steady into the legs, we'll reach over to the right, pull it back in, reach over to the left. Good, nice active legs as we move through this side bending range of motion. Inhale as the arm reaches. Exhale to pull it in. One more each side, reach. Fingers are spread, active hands. And hold. Coming into sunflowers as we press up with the legs. Let the wrists cross above the head. And then as you bend your knees, hinge forward and let your wrists cross below towards the floor. So we're making a big sun shape. Inhale and exhale. So my back is staying neutral. So even though I'm slightly leaning forward, I'm not doing that really from my back. Doing it right from my pelvis. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more. 1 more. Inhale up, hold. Open the arms out from the shoulders and slightly down. Turn your right foot out. Your left heel goes back to neutral, warrior 2. So this is an open hip pose. So the hip flexor is open here as the knee's pointing to the side. Squeeze your glute and try to get your knee to line up right over your ankle. Lower the arms and lift up. We lower and lift up. So as the arms are down, the front knee is bent. As the arms rise, we'll straighten the leg. Bend and lower and lift. If the shoulders get tired, you can keep them down, moderately rising. You don't have to come above the head. Just flowing with the breath. 2 more repetitions. We're strengthening into that right thigh and right glute. 1 more. And come down. We'll bring this right forearm to the thigh. Take your left arm up and lower it down. Lift and reach and lower. Bring it up and hold, stretch, extended side angle pose. Now some of you might like to take this a little bit lower, down toward a block or down towards the floor, but try not to bend over with the waist. So we're just staying in our side bend, lateral flexion. Gaze can come up. If the shoulder's bothering you, the hand can go to the hip or even wrap it behind the back. 2 more breaths. One more breath. And as you exhale, pull yourself all the way up out of the pose. Relax your arms. We'll pivot the other direction. So we'll turn that right foot forward and the left foot out. Drop into your warrior 2 and find this nice alignment. Again, arms don't have to raise. You can hold them right here. Feel the work in the leg and get your knee aligned right over the ankle. And we'll lower the arms and reach. Lower and reach. With the movement of the legs, as the arms are low, the knee is bent, and we straighten. Lower and up. As you bend that knee, make sure it doesn't extend out over your toes. So you want a nice long stride here. So when you bend the knee, keep that load directly over the ankle. 3 more. Nice open hip pose. 2. 1 more. And come down. Bring that forearm to the thigh. Reach the arm over. Inhale. And lower it down. Exhale. Stretch. Shoulders are stacked. Imagine there's a wall right behind your back. And we'll hold this one here into that extended side angle pose. You choose if you'd like to go a little bit lower, down to your block, to your floor. Take wherever you are today on this side. Gaze can go up. We breathe. One more breath in through the nose. Use your exhalation to come back up to your warrior 2. Drop your arms, pivot this outside left foot, roll it in. So both toes are pointing forward. Place your fists right at your sacrum, just below the lower back on either side, close to your tailbone. Pull your shoulder blades back and slightly come into a small baby back bend. Your fists are supporting the pelvis, but your abdominals are really engaged here. 2 more breaths in our standing camel pose. 1 more breath in. And as you exhale, bring yourself back up and release the fists. We'll turn the right foot back out and bring the hands down to the floor. Let your left heel lift. Now you can keep this back knee off the ground, or you can set it down onto your padding, your cushion. Either one is fine. And we are going to twist open. Inhale. Exhale, lower that arm down. Rotation of the spine, our twisting lunge, and lower down. 2 more with the breath. And down. Last one. You can hold this up. The top hand can come to the hip or wrap behind the back. If the back knee is lifted, push into your heel a little bit. 2 more breaths. Gaze can move up or down towards your fingertips. 1 more breath. And exhale, lower the hand down. We'll walk the hands around through the midline, straightening both legs into wide leg straddle stretch. You might need to use your block here to support with your fingertips. And we will hold this stretch. For tight hamstrings, your knees can be bent quite a bit. Relax your lower back, relax your head. You can move it from side to side, up and down, yes, no. Just release any tension in the neck, in that cervical spine. And then begin to walk your hands over to the other side and we'll pivot on the feet. So your left foot then is forward, right heel lifted. Keep the front fingertips down onto the floor right next to your foot and open out into your twist. Inhale and exhale. Back knee can drop down for more comfortable pose. A little bit easier on your balance. And 1 more time, open out, hold. Top hand can release behind the back, set it at the hip. Gaze either up or down towards the foot. Nice long spine as we're twisting. 2 more breaths. 1 more. And exhale, lower that hand down. We'll walk ourselves back into the middle, straightening both legs, pivoting both feet forward into your wide leg stretch. And maybe we're coming a little deeper this time as we've been here before and those muscles are letting go and relaxing. And then we'll keep our left hand down onto the mat, right underneath your shoulder or onto your block. And inhale to open out into your twist to the right side. We've got 3 repetitions. Exhaling to lower the arm. Inhaling to sweep up, twist. Exhale to lower. And up. And down. And hold this one, stretch up, reach. Whatever your range of motion is, it's okay if the shoulders don't end up stacked, one on top of the other. And then we'll lower that right hand down, bring it right underneath the shoulder. If you're at home and you have a little step stool or a chair, you can place your hands on top of something a little bit higher. And then we'll open, inhale, and exhale down. I'm finding my range of motion is much better and more comfortable on this side. It's normal to have a bigger range of motion and rotation to one side than the other. And let's bring this one up to hold, stretch, and breathe. One more breath in. And lower down. We'll walk the hands back over to the right side, pivot on the feet again, and drop your left knee down to the mat. We're going to take both hands to the inside. You might have to heel toe the front foot out a little bit wider. And we'll stretch open through this hip flexor here. Dropping the hips down. And just notice where your range of motion is. Maybe you can come down a little bit lower onto the forearms or onto one forearm. Holding here and breathe. So tight hip flexors are oftentimes responsible for some difficulty with low back pain. So super important to stretch out those hip flexors. If my pose looks like this, I'm not getting my hip flexor to open. So notice that with you. If your hips are up over your knee, shift your body weight forward so you can drop the pelvis down. Now you can either remain as you are here or come up, place the forward hand on your knee and lift the back leg arm up. That might give you more of a stretch through your hip flexor, or even adding a side bend might give you even more. So you play with that and see what gives you the best stretch. We'll hold here 3 more breaths. One more breath. And then bringing the hands back down, begin to straighten out this front leg, shifting back into a Hanumanasana prep. So with this stretch, if you're tight in the hamstrings, you might be up onto a block with your hands. We want a nice long spine, not a curved back. So really lengthen. And then let your upper body just descend over that front leg so you feel this in the hamstring. So you can remain here. We can glide the leg forward a little bit more and let it slide into more of a split, sending the other leg behind. You can use your block to help support you here, or your fingertips. You decide where to be in this pose. 3 more breaths. Relaxing the back of the leg, 2 more breaths. One more. So if you slid into your split, you'll need to pull yourself back up, bending that front knee. Tuck the back toes under, lift the knee up off the mat, and walk yourself through to the other side, setting your knee right down onto the mat. You can bring both hands into the middle, so perhaps walking out that side foot just a little bit to make room. All right, so this could be a whole different picture with the hamstring and with the hip flexor on this side. So take your time to explore your range of motion. Make sure you're not up here doing the stretch. You've got to drop the hip down. And your block's a nice tool to use. If you're super tight, you can hold yourself up. So you can either keep your hands down or you can come up and support on the front thigh, lifting the opposite arm up or adding a side bend. So just explore this side. It doesn't have to look the same as the other. And find a good stretch for you here in this pose. Inhale, exhale through the nose, a nice equal ratio breath. Maybe the Ujjayi breath, constricting the back of the throat, hearing that beautiful whisper, the ocean breath. And then release it back down with the fingertips. We'll straighten out the front leg, shifting the body weight back to stretch the hamstring. Using the block if you need to help support you up. And I like this front foot actively flexed. That gives me a little bit more length through the calf muscle and that whole posterior chain. And then explore your range of motion on this side. You can slide forward into that front split. And a block is a nice tool to use in front split. If you're not quite to the floor yet, you can place that block maybe underneath your thigh or your hip. Just see where you feel is great for you on this side. Relax those muscles, let them stretch. 2 more breaths. And then we will transition to seated. So whichever position that you're in, find the best way to come to a seated position. We'll come to Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet come together and the knees open out. We can place the hands here on top of the knees to give a little bit of a weighted position to open up the knees a little bit more. Or we can hold around the ankles. We want to be careful not to grab the feet and to pull up, as that can stress out the talofibular ligament in the ankle. And then relax, stretching forward any amount. And I feel this in my low back. So we want to be sure we're not taking it too deep and stressing out the lumbar spine. And we also have a tendency to want to curve here and to really come forward. But this day and age, with all of the usage of our phone and the rounding that we're getting in our backs, it's best to not focus on curving the spine more than we need to. So lengthen and just fold into place from the pelvis. One more breath in. And exhale it out. We'll come into Navasana to work the core, boat pose. We'll close your legs together. If you have a cushion, it's kind of nice to sit on something comfortable. So we're going to take the weight back a little bit into the sits bones and into the tailbone. And then we can begin to lift the feet up off the floor if that feels comfortable for you. So some options for this are to keep your hands down to support your balance, to keep your feet bent down and just hinge back and feel the work in the abs. Or you can try just picking up one foot for a couple of breaths and then the other foot for a couple of breaths. So wherever you are, hold. Maybe the legs can straighten out a little bit more. Another option is to make peace fingers. Grab a hold of the big toes in a yogi toe lock and extend through the legs, nice and long, and then to that wide Navasana. So many options here to find the pose that works best for you. 2 more breaths. One more breath. And relaxing the feet down. Come into staff pose, which is our forward fold. So we'll take the legs out in front. If you have your yoga strap, it's a nice tool to use. We'll place it under the bottoms of the feet. And I like to place it under the ball of the foot rather than the arch. Because if I have it under the ball of the foot and I give it a little pull back, I can come into a nice ankle flexion. So we sit up nice and tall. And again, we're not looking at rounding here. We're just lengthening and extending a neutral spine forward. If your hamstrings are really tight and you're finding it difficult even to sit straight up, then bend your knees a little bit. Extend the spine long and fold forward from here. Just relax and breathe. Two more breaths. One more. Exhale completely. And release the strap and rise up. Take your time to roll down onto your back. We'll be doing a couple of twists. So if you need some props for twists, I like to use my cushion. Put it over onto one side of your mat. Your block can also go there too, in case you need something to prop up your twist. We'll come down onto the back. Take your time to roll down slowly. And I have my props over to the right side of my body. So I'm going to keep that leg long. And I'm pulling my left knee right up into my chest. So we'll actually be taking this twist over to the right side. And I want to see if I can get that top leg to come down to my props. Now for you, you might be able to get that knee all the way down to the mat and still keep your shoulder blades onto the floor. But my spine is a little bit too tight for that, so the props give you something to relax into. It's hard to relax if your leg is floating up in the air or if your shoulder is floating up in the air. So we want to have some grounding between those two parts of the body. What to do with your arms? You can make cactus arms, extend them out like a T, just a comfortable position. Your head can stay neutral, or you can turn your face away from your knees so they're pointing the opposite direction. I can also take this hand and press it down onto the knee to create a little bit of gentle tension. And just relax here and breathe into this twist. Twists are so therapeutic for the lower back, mid-back, all along the spine. They're beneficial to digestion, processing our food through our digestive system, and elimination. They're also very therapeutic for the mind and the emotions. Letting go of anxiety and of tension. So we'll realign the head first, bringing it back to center. And then let that knee come back as well. And we are going to place that ankle across the opposite knee for a reclined pigeon pose. I have the ankle flexed, reach through, grab behind the thigh, pull the knees up towards the chest. So a nice stretch for the external rotators. Now I feel a pretty good stretch here. So for me, it's okay to stay, but if you want to go deeper, you can come into Cradle the Baby. So with Cradle the Baby, I'm going to bring my elbow crease around the knee, my other elbow crease up around my foot, and then lock my hands together and come back down. And you can actually rock this a little bit side to side to stretch through the hip and thigh. Bottom foot can be on the mat, or you can extend that leg all the way down. This is pretty tight for me to hold for a while. I can get there, but it's not too relaxing for me. So just explore, see what feels best for you. We'll just be here a couple more breaths. And then we'll lower down, uncross the ankle. If you need your props for your twist, you can bring them to the other side. And again, you can be very different from one side to the other, so you may or may not need them here. The leg that's closest to your props goes straight. Other knee comes into your chest, give it a little pull, and then drag it across the midline until you come into a good range of motion. Maybe the legs rest onto your props. It's important that the other shoulder can stay down if possible and ground that into the mat. And sometimes you just need to kind of wiggle around a little bit and change your position. And then all of a sudden, there it is. Your hand can press down and the gaze turning away from the knees. And then we let the twist work its magic. Once you find that relaxing place, just slow the breath in and out. Calm the mind. And just check and see if there's any areas in your body where you're holding on to any tension, whether it be physical tension, mental tension, emotional tension. This has been a tough past 6 months for us. So we'll let go of all of that we can. Softening the jaw, the eyebrows, the forehead, the neck, the shoulders, upper back, mid back, lower back, and hips. And take 3 more deep breaths. And on that third exhalation, let your head come back to center first. Releasing the knee, allow it to come back into the chest. Then we'll take our reclined pigeon, placing the ankle over the opposite thigh. Let your knee open, and then pull the knees up into the chest and see how this one feels for you. Or if you need to deepen it, you can come into your cradle the baby. This is a nice pose to do also with your foot up against a wall or laying your leg on a chair. It's really nice just to relax and be supported here in this position. This is a great stretch if we experience any sciatic nerve issues from tight piriformis muscles or deep external rotators. Maybe we can pull that stretch in just a little deeper for a few more breaths. An option to cradle the baby, if you can't get the elbows to wrap around, is just to hold here and maybe bring your hands underneath the shin and pull it towards you very carefully. You want to be sure there's no pain in your knee here in this pose. We'll take 2 more breaths. One more breath. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. And lower the legs down, uncross the ankles. We'll bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees open into Baddha Konasana, just briefly, not for too long. Just allow the inner thighs to stretch a little bit, the thighs to be heavy. Make sure your lower back hasn't lifted too much off the mat, so engage your core and press your spine into neutral. And then let your knees close, setting your feet flat down onto the mat. Do a little pelvic tilt, press the lower back down, and then start to peel the hips up, coming into bridge. Then slowly roll back down, one vertebra at a time, tucking the pelvis at the very last. Very therapeutic for the lumbar spine. We'll roll back up, tuck and lift. Pressing into the feet, make sure that your knees are tracking straight forward. You're not letting them open. So slightly squeezing the inner thighs. And then rolling back down. We'll do one more rolling bridge. Tuck, imprint the spine, lift up. And we can stay here. If you have a block and you want to take a supported bridge, you can slide it right underneath your sacrum and then just lower your hips onto the block and make this more of a restorative back bend. If you don't have the block, you're just lifting up with the hips, a little squeeze of the glutes. And then if you're using the block underneath the pelvis, you can leave it there. If you're not using the block, lower back down until your pelvis reaches the floor and we'll come into legs up the wall. So either on your block or on the floor, one leg lifts and the other leg comes up. Now, if you're at home and you do have a wall or a chair to support your legs on, you can come into that position. You can also use your strap or a little hand towel and place it under the bottoms of the feet and let your hands help you to keep the legs lifted up. And we'll be in our legs up the wall position for 2 minutes. So in this place, flex and point through the ankles, and this is going to squeeze the muscles of the lower legs. That squeezing action is known as the muscle pump. So we're pumping the blood and our lymphatic fluid, and then with the help of gravity, we're pulling that fluid down from the lower extremity back towards the center of our body and towards our heart. So many reasons we should do this legs up the wall, very therapeutic for people who are on their feet a lot and have some swelling, some edema in the lower ankles, the feet, the lower legs. It's wonderful for our immune system. And we've got 1 more minute. You can continue with the muscle pump, or you could just relax your feet and close your eyes and allow your legs to feel heavy. We feel the thigh bones pressing into the back of the hip sockets. If you're up against the wall, your legs can be at an angle so they can be extended out a little lower up against the wall or on a chair. If they're on a chair, you won't get quite as much of the blood flow return, so it's a little bit better to have the legs extended up if possible. Now, if you'd like to choose to remain here for our Shavasana today, you can stay as you are. Otherwise, we'll be here for just a few more breaths, and then we'll lower the legs down. So if you're remaining as you are, go ahead and stay still and quiet as we come into relaxation. Or we can let the feet find the floor. If you're on the block, push and lift it, slide it out from underneath the hips and lower back down 1 vertebra at a time. Now, if you have lower back issues and it's uncomfortable to lay flat, separate your feet and let your knees just fall right in towards each other for final relaxation. Otherwise, we can let the legs completely extend out and widen them a little bit wider than hips distance. Let your thighs roll outward so the toes are turning out. And whichever pose that you're choosing today for Shavasana, we'll put one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. And we'll come into a two-part breath. So the inhalation has two phases. The first phase, the belly floats up. We can feel that into the hand. The second phase of the inhalation, the chest rises. Then the chest drops on the first part of the exhalation, and the belly drops on the last half. So we inhale deeply, belly lifts, chest rises, chest falls, and belly falls. At your own pace, and we'll take 2 or 3 more rounds of our two-part breath. Once you've finished as many as you would like, let both hands find rest onto your lower abdomen. Just coming into a soft belly breath, a gentle rise and fall. On the inhalation and the exhalation. And you can remain here as long as you'd like. No need to rush to come up to close class. Or if you're ready to rise, we'll roll over onto one side for a couple of breaths by bending the knees first. And the side you're rolling to, you'll create a little bit of a pillow there for the head. Rolling over, take a couple of breaths, let your blood pressure start to rise back up. And then use your arms to begin to press. We'll come back where we began our class today in a comfortable seated position. Maybe cross-leg pose, or extending the legs straight out or straddled. And once you rise, find that nice neutral spine again, feeling gravity drawing your pelvis in towards the earth. Lifting up through the crown of the head. And just check in, noticing how you're feeling as compared to 1 hour ago when we began class. Maybe your thoughts are more clear, your body and mind more relaxed, less stress, less discomfort in the lower back. And we'll press the palms of the hands in an Anjali Mudra. The thumbs draw into the heart center. And just gently bow, chin towards the chest as we express our gratitude and our honor today for this opportunity to practice as a community. And the light and the love and the peace that resides within me honors the light and love and peace in each of you. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I will switch off YouTube and chat with anybody who would like to chat today and see how your bodies felt with our practice. Nice job, everyone. 11 people on board today.